Hi everyone, so in today's video I'm going to be cutting some vinyl, so I just thought I would put the camera on and do a video. So basically I need a couple of vinyl words to label these plastic cases. Now these two little plastic cases are kept in this box and they're kept in a drawer at the side of my embroidery machine, and I keep my bobbins in them that I like have a day where I pre-wind embroidery bobbins, and I sometimes do basic colours for the sewing machine as well, so just maybe black and whites. And I have started keeping these little plastic covers on them. These are linked in my Amazon affiliate favourites, which you can find at the top of the homepage here on my Apple Lover 53 website. Now I used to keep them in a box that was specifically made for bobbins, but when you put these on them, they'll still fit in the little trays, but the lid won't close, and it was getting on my nerves. So I had these little white plastic pockets. You get these like with sewing machine bits in, and you can get them with your ScanNCut, and I keep them and I don't really use them. So I've folded they have a flap on that fastens with a popper. I folded it back and I've stuck it down with some double-sided tape, and I just keep them in this box. The only way I know the difference between which bobbin is which is that in one of them it's a pre-wound bobbin, so I know that this is for my embroidery and then this must be for my sewing. So I'm going to label them just to make it a little bit easier for me to see when they're in the drawer next to me. And then I was watching a video recently and I saw a lady doing vinyl on a bookmark, an acrylic bookmark. Now this acrylic I've got is not as strong as the pre-bought acrylic bookmarks or acrylic shapes, but I've had this acrylic years, and in actual fact over the last few years when I've changed my craft room around, I've moved it into a different room in the house, and I had loads of this stuff, and I remember buying it. I bought it from the US years and years ago. It's probably 15 years old. I remember buying it with other cardstock and things like that I used to sell, and I bought it in 12 by 12 and in 6 by 6. All the 6 by 6 I can't find, so I think the last time I redid my craft room, when I moved it again, and I've moved it around in the back end of 2022, I think I've thrown it away. But I must have kept these, and the only reason I think that I kept these was because these I'd cut to 6 by 12, and I used to use them to wrap my fabric round. So I think that's why I've just got these. So what I've done, I've cut myself a bookmark that's 6 by 2 inches. I've punched a hole in it with my crocodile and I've rounded the corners. And I just cut this with a very, very, very sharp craft knife and a ruler. But like I say, the ones that you can pre-buy, I think might be slightly smaller in height and a little bit narrower, but it doesn't really matter. I just thought I'd cut these in 2-inch increments. So as I say, the ones that you can pre-buy that there is a link to in my Amazon craft favourites are thicker, but I'm going to use this just for the purposes of the video because the principle is exactly the same. Underneath this video in the description on YouTube, you'll see a link that says my website, and if you go to my website and then go to the blog and find this post, you'll find all the links for the fonts that I'm going to use and links for the vinyl. This is permanent vinyl, so it's not heat transfer vinyl, it's like outdoor vinyl. This is like a glossy white, and then I've got 2 pieces of blue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut 2 words to label these in the blue, and then I'm going to cut 2 pieces to do this bookmark in blue and white. So I might as well, being as though it's all vinyl, I just thought I'd turn the camera on and record a video and you can see the process. And then if you want to go and purchase some acrylic blanks yourself, it might just give you an idea, for some presents or whatever. So I've done my words in Canvas Workspace and I've sent them over to my ScanNCut machine wirelessly, and I've pulled that design up on the screen and I've got my mat preloaded. So I'm just going to put these 3 pieces of vinyl onto the mat and we'll get cutting. So as you can see, I'm using a very old dirty mat, but I'm hoping that this is going to be sticky enough to do what I need to do. I'm going to put that piece that way, and then I'm going to put the white underneath. So I've got 3 pieces of vinyl, all right side up, because I don't need to cut in reverse, even though I am using text, because as I say, this is not heat transfer vinyl. This is regular permanent vinyl that you cut from the top, so from the colour. So you should be able to see on screen now I've got three designs. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to do a background scan and start, because one of the designs I am going to have to rotate. So one of these designs is actually a shape that I got from Creative Fabrica, and as I say, all the links will be below. So I want these two words that are in the top left cut from this piece of blue. I want the word dream big, if I can get hold of it. Just going to move it down with my arrows on the piece of white, which is here somewhere. And then this other shape I want to rotate because I've put the vinyl on lengthwise. So I'm going to go Object, Edit, Rotate 90 and put that on there. I'm going to say OK, OK. I'm going to go into the wrench, make the background darker, just so that I can see that my words are all on my 3 pieces of vinyl. I'm going to say OK, select, cut, and then before I do anything else, I'm going to go into the wrench. I'm going to scroll down, and then where it says half cut, I'm going to select on. Now, I'm using my regular ScanNCut DX blade. I've got the vinyl blade, but I do know that not everybody has got it. So I'm just going to use my regular blade for this project. I've said in previous videos, I've got all the different blades and I do like to use them for what they're meant for. So the rotary blade, you know, I use for fabrics. The thin fabric blade I use for fabric. The vinyl blade I use for vinyl. But your regular blade will cut vinyl, no problem. The vinyl blade can be used when you've got like more intricate designs, but these are just basic words, so there's no reason whatsoever why I can't use my regular black top DX blade. And obviously I sell these in my ScanNCut shop here on my website. So I'm going to say OK, let that process. I'm going to press start and let that start cutting. Now I might speed up this bit just to save some time, but when it's finished I'll show you the next part of the process. Okay, so that's finished. So I'm going to say OK. I'm going to unload my mat and bring you back to my desk. So I've got a piece of transfer tape here, just some old transfer tape that again I've had for years. This is the paper type transfer tape as opposed to the clear. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to peel these off the mat for now. So that's the one that goes with that one for the bookmark, and this is the one that's got my words on it for my little notions containers. So I'm going to cut the waste off because that can always be used again. Now I didn't put a weeding box around these. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends what I'm cutting and, to be honest, sometimes whether I even remember. So I'm going to start with one of them. So I'm going to peel a corner and start to peel this away to weed it. Again, all the links to the fonts I've used will be in the accompanying blog post. So that's where I put everything. So everything I put on YouTube usually always has an accompanying blog post. So if you go over to my Apple Lover 53 website, that's the tiniest little bit there that's going to stick to my finger. You'll always find an accompanying blog post. So that's the first one, and I'm going to just prepare this one the same. So grab a corner, start to peel this away, and I just kind of stick it all in front of me. You can get those little like silicone things that clip to your fingers or have a sucker on and they stick to your desk, and you can, you know, put all your little weeding bits of vinyl in them, but I've just always done it this way. So I'm just going to carry on. I love this hook tool, by the way. This is what came from HTV Ron with the heat transfer vinyl. But they also do permanent vinyl in black and white as well. So let's just get rid of that. And then I'm going to empty this out. Now this is the one that's got the pre-wound bobbin in, so I know that this is my embroidery spools. So I'm going to pick up, just make sure that you can see. And it looks as though I've got everything out. So I'm just going to put my transfer tape on the top. I'm going to use my trusty, very old Pazzles scraper. Turn this over. Give it a rub from the back and start to peel away. And if you peel the backing away from your transfer tape, it generally comes away a lot easier. And if you see a bit that wants to come up, either just give it another rub or just push it down with your, you know, your weeding tool or your scraper or whatever you're using. Okay, so that's my first one. So I'm just going to pop it on here. I'm going to put it near the top. I'm not bothered about whether it's centralised or not. I'm just going to put it down and hopefully it's avoiding that popper and it's going to stay in place. I don't know if it's going to stick, to be fair, to these pouches, because they're a funny, like I couldn't get some of my glue to stick the flaps down, and these don't look as though they're going to stick, to be honest. So this might be a complete fail. It might be back to the drawing board for renaming. So we'll see how this goes and we'll see if I can get this to stick. I'm not so sure, you know, whether it wants to stick to this. If you've got these white pouches that came with your ScanNCut or any of your sewing machines, you'll know what they feel like. So hopefully you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to try and get them started on the bottom and then peel them away and see whether they stick. And if I find that they're not going to stick, I will, like I say, I'll just try the sticker kit. But I generally do most things with vinyl and I find that they're okay. The little bit from my eye is still on my transfer sheet. The dot on the eye is a bit crooked, but anyway, so it is sticking, but I don't know how long it's going to stay. So I'm going to pop them in there so I can see now when this is in my drawer, I can see that that's embroidery. And we'll do the sewing one and then I'll move on to the other. Like I say, I don't know whether these are going to stay on, but anyway. So that's my first two little projects. Okay, so they can go back in my drawer and hopefully now with that on there, I can put my hand in and get, you know, whichever one I know. I know I'm getting a bobbin that's got bobbin fill on it, or I know I'm getting a bobbin that's got ordinary sewing thread on it. So that's the first project. So let's see, the next one should be a little bit easier, but you never know. So I'm going to bring in my little mat in the hope that you might be able to see this better. So for this one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to peel away the excess. And that's it, there's nothing else in there to weed. I'm going to use the same piece of transfer tape. Going to give it a good burnish. Turn it over. And then start to peel the backing away. And again, if I see any of the vinyl wanting to come up, just going to push it down. And start to peel away. So now I've got this, okay? And again, it depends which way you want your name, or your name or your word. I'm using Dream Big. So I think I'm going to have it go in Dream Big rather than that way, Dream Big, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to start with my punched hole on the right hand side, and then I'm going to position, might be easier if I do it this way. I'm going to position this so that this kind of vinyl effect splatter that I'm using is fairly central to my piece of acrylic. And there's lots of ways of doing these acrylic shapes and bookmarks. You can paint on the back of them and then put your vinyl on the front. But if you don't want to mess about with paint, you can cut yourself a vinyl shape like this and do it this way. So I'm just going to smooth that out. You can get rid of that now because you'll be able to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to turn it over. So the vinyl's on the back. And if you get any bubbles, just go over with your scraper. So that's the vinyl I've just applied. And because we're using permanent vinyl, it's the same colour on both sides. So now this side has not got anything on it. And I forgot to say that before I started recording, I wiped these over with rubbing alcohol on both sides just to make sure that the surface was clean. So now I'm just going to bring in my scissors and trim this down just to make it a little bit easier. For picking up, and I'm going to weed this one. Taking my time with this one because obviously this is text, and sometimes the bits of vinyl go in between the letters like they are here. So you want to make sure that this is where your weeding tool comes in handy, because you can hook it under the vinyl. Okay, so again, I'm just going to move that out of the way. I'm just going to stick all that together, and then I'm just going to start peeling away the middles of my letters and just put them all on the vinyl. They'll all stick to the vinyl, so you'll just end up with a nice pile that you can put in your bin. Don't be afraid of vinyl. It can be a bit tricky, and sometimes can be a bit challenging, but it's great. You just need to take your time. So now I'm going to bring in a piece of transfer tape again. I'm going to put this over the top. I probably need a new piece of transfer tape, to be fair, because when I've finished with it, I roll it back up onto the roll, and I'm just basically using the same piece over and over again. So, it's probably about time that I threw this piece away and got a fresh piece off the roll. So, again, I'm just going to start to peel it back, and if I see any of the vinyl moving like that, Just going to give it another rub. It's probably that my transfer tape is not sticky enough, as I say, because it's old. But once you get it going, you should be okay. Just take your time and roll it back on itself. Don't try and lift it up. You want to keep it as flat as you can and just roll it back, and that will help. So we've got the word dream, and then we're on to the next word now. Got the dot on the I, and just this last G that I may have to just adjust because it moved when I was picking it up the first time. But if you just put your hook tool underneath it, you can generally maneuver it and get it to go back where it should be. So that's my word on there now. So again, that's the side I put the vinyl on with the hole on the right hand side. I'm going to flip it over so this is a completely clear surface, and I'm going to put this now over where the painted effect is, and I'm going to try and position it down, and then again just rub it down. And as I say, this acrylic that I'm using is thinner than the acrylic blanks that you would buy, but it's, you know, it's the same principle. It's just to give you the idea. Throw all that away. Bring my mat back in the hope that you can see this better. So that's what we've got now, Dream Big bookmark. So I've got a couple of bits of blue ribbon here. The ones that you buy from Amazon that I've got linked come with tassels actually, which is really nice. I'm going to maybe put a bit of ribbon in them. We'll see maybe whether 1 or 2 pieces will work. So I'm going to see if I can thread this through the hole. So you can either just tie a knot, or you could tie this like this and tie a bit of twine around it. I think I'll try for a knot, but I'm going to try and turn it over so that this other ribbon is on top. And let's just see how this is going to look. I can always take it off if I don't like how it looks, and just use one ribbon, or just get some tassels. I've got some glue on this mat, so bits are sticking to it. So let's see if we can zoom in. So there are the projects. So I've got embroidery and sewing on there. As I say, I'm not sure how long they're going to last on there, just because of the material that those bags are made of. And then I've got my Dream Big bookmark with my other vinyl on the back. So they were today's projects. And as I say, all the links to the fonts I've used and to the acrylic blanks and to the vinyl will be listed in the accompanying blog post over on my Apple Lover 53 website. So if you go over there, go to the blog post, but also at the top of the page it says Amazon Favourites. If you go to the Amazon Favourites, they'll be in the craft products section, and you'll find, you know, the acrylic bookmarks, and you'll find the permanent vinyl and that kind of thing. So I hope that was helpful. Anyway, please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.